Hey, hi folks. In a previous video, we discussed why the traditional funnel, which was only built for acquisition, right? It's the leads, opportunities, wins, which is your traditional funnel, which was built for tech businesses of the past, is no longer working, right? The SaaS of today is super complicated, and hence we discussed how BowTie funnel is very relevant today. As an extension to that video, as a continuation, right, we discussed in that one how there are different facets, different stages to the BowTie funnel. I'm going to link that post and that video in the comment section. In this one, I definitely wanted to cover how do you execute, now that I have walked you through the BowTie funnel, but how do you go about creating a checklist and executing that things are working the way you want it. That is what we'll cover here. Notice here in the first part of the BowTie funnel, right, which is where you're creating awareness, someone's visiting your website, this is where marketing owns, this is pre-MQL. What could be your direct checklist here? Notice this is what is going to happen, right? What is the definition of your MQL? That is something you want to put. What is and how do you score it? In most organization, MQL is an evolving definition, and rightly so. But however, if your MQL definition is evolving every single quarter, remember you have a fundamental problem, because how do you measure your cohorts of MQLs if the definition keeps changing? And one quick question here, go ask your sales, do they know what is the definition of MQL? If they're not, you should be shocked, you should be surprised, you have work to do. Also on this one, how frequently does your MQL definition evolve? Is MQL conversion of marketing leads automated, right? Or someone has to timestamp saying, you know what, these are leads, now that they have come, someone in marketing goes through that list and says, this is MQL, this is not, this is MQL, this is not. And maybe a week later they say, hey, you know what, I said this was not MQL last week, but hey, you know what, I actually missed it last week. I'm going to mark it MQL now. A very poor way of handling it. You need automation, right? Someone comes, visits your website, clicks on request a demo. Maybe there is a scoring model you have. 50 is the threshold for anyone marked as MQL. 50 points, they are MQL. Maybe they download a white paper, 10 points. Maybe they download another white paper, 20 points. Maybe they attend a webinar, 20 points, right? So now they're 10 plus 10 plus 10, 20, 40 points. They're still not MQL if 50 is your threshold. So you need an automation there, right? What is MQL to SQL conversion rate? Basically, how much of your qualified pipe is coming from marketing gets generated. That is something you want to check on this phase. Once the MQLs hit, right? Once they are MQLs and they are in the SDRs bucket, you need to know these all questions. Have you automated who receives which lead? Most organizations cannot calculate first response time because you don't have the automation. You don't have the structure to pass the lead. Let's say your marketing spent $100 to get a very hot lead, right, from Google Ads. And if you cannot assign that to the right rep to go act on, it is a wasted effort on marketing's front. There is enough literature, enough proof, enough experiments, enough data out there to say the sooner you respond. Typically, you want to be responding within 3 minutes of a lead coming to your system. So without you having this entire structure, how do you do that? And so have you automated your who receives the lead, which rep receives, right? If they're absent, who is the fallback? All of that is in place, not. Are you calculating first response time by each SDR? Are they acting up? If they act, have you incentivized them? If they don't, have you penalized them? All of this needs structured automation. Do SDRs have a qualification methodology, right? It could be banned, any other methodology. Do they know what that means? Do they know when to make an exception to that ban, right? Let's say Facebook signs up on your page and you told your SDRs, do not entertain anyone below $10,000 budget. And maybe the Meta guy comes and says, I just have $8,000. And your new SDR basically disqualifies that. You don't want that to happen. Someone from Meta is a massive marketing logo. It's a massive upsell, cross-sell opportunity. So exceptions to be made is something you have to teach them to. What happens to disqualified leads, right? And do you have process automation to assign qualified leads to the right rep? Now that the rep has the SDRs qualified, is there automation on which sales rep will receive? How long between demo scheduled to demo completion? Is your SDR following up with prospect until demo actually happens? This is in fact one of my favorite questions, right? In geopolitics, there is a phrase called no man's land. Basically, it's the border between two countries, like India and Pakistan has that one, and multiple countries across the globe. And it's a disputed territory between countries, and and hence it is underdeveloped because of that dispute, and there are no structure of that. You will see there's no man's lands exist in multiple parts of your process. Let's say your SDR is incentivized to create a qualified demo. Let's say I'm a prospect and your SDR bombarded me, they wished me on my birthday, they wished me on my anniversary, they told me how the product is amazing and I should seek a demo. Maybe a month later I'm convinced and I ask for that. And suddenly your SDR goes, qualifies, looks at my calendar, your sales rep's calendar, and schedules a demo. And that's when they're incentivized, they are done, they go back to net new prospect, repeat this. And I, as a prospect, think of my experience. For a month, someone from your organization bombarded me with mails, calls, and wished, right, they were there. And now they're suddenly not, because the next meeting on the demo is scheduled, let's say, for example, 4 days later. For 4 days, there is a blank silence on the prospect's part, right? And it's a critical period, by the way, to keep the prospect nurtured. And you cannot hold the sales rep accountable because they haven't yet spoken to me, the prospect. That's when their accountability starts. And hence you want to be sure, is your SDR following up with prospect until the demo actually happens. Incentivize your reps to continue to follow even after the demo is scheduled on the calendar, until that really happens. 3 days later, 3 weeks later, does not matter, they continue to follow up. That's when they make their money, but you have to tell them. And here's a suggestion, go check, right? Can you please go check what's the average time between meeting scheduled and actual meeting happens in your organization, and then chart out what kind of leads actually drop off in that no man's land. This is a classic SDR to sales handshake problem. I know we are up time, there's so much to discuss. I will follow up the next set of checklist in our next conversation. Hope this was helpful. Happy selling, happy building.